You're listening to the Quit Your Job in 6 Months podcast with Buck motherfucking Flogging. Listen carefully as Buck lays down a mesmerizing array of knowledge that can help you quit your job in 6 months or less and pursue your dream as a proud owner of a successful internet enterprise. Got a question for Buck? Go to quitin6.com/ask-buck. That's quit, the letter N, the number 6.com/ask-buck. Now get ready to enjoy the show.
Invincible.
Hey, quitters. This is Buck Flogging. I'm here with Cary David Richards. And Cary's a really interesting case because he's almost there. And, the inspiration for doing Quit in 6, a lot of that is based on the situation that Cary's in, which he's publishing almost exclusively Kindle books, hoping to carve out a living for himself. And it's very difficult to do that and only that. And he's doing well, but he's just not quite doing well enough to officially quit his job. So hopefully we can give him a little guidance on this call. What's going on, Cary?
Hey, man, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
No problem. So where are you at now, and how long have you been writing Kindle books and publishing on Kindle?
Well, I've been writing Kindle books for about a year or so, and I've got to say 8 decent books. I've got a couple of others than that. I've got a couple more than that, but they were in a different niche, and I quit. I quit promoting them and just kind of left them alone. So I'd say I've got 8 decent books out there currently, and doing okay, making some money. But again, like you said, I'm not to where I can go ahead and quit my job yet. So.
Well, I'll let you summarize it a little bit. What is the primary problem that you're seeing with Kindle publishing in and of itself?
Well, I think that the thing I run into, and I see these other guys online that seem like they're doing substantially better than I am. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's mostly due to the fact they've got huge lists. But what happens, with me is I publish a book. I can launch it pretty good, I think, and I can get it up into like this one. I just launched one over the weekend here, or a couple of days ago, with the help of Buck Books, I got the thing up to I don't think it was 764 in the paid rankings. But then, of course, it immediately, the day afterward, immediately starts dropping down, and right now it's at like I don't know, 2,500 or something like that, and it'll stay there a while, but it'll taper off, and within 3 or 4 weeks it'll be down into the between 35 and 85,000 paid rankings, right? And so it'll clunk along at 1, 2, 3, 4 a day kind of a thing, and so you get enough books written and published, and that'll make you a little bit of money, but it's just not. I just can't quite seem to spool it up over that threshold to really make the kind of money I want to make.
Yeah, and I would say the quick summary is that new books do really well for about a month, and then they quickly drop off, and you have to continually publish new books, and most of your catalog that you've already written is not going to be performing all that well. So, most authors could easily make $1,000 in their first month on most of their books with, even just a semi-decent launch and a semi-decent concept. But it's really easy for most of those to gravitate towards the $100 to $200 a month realm, and then all of a sudden you're dependent on, writing 50, 100 books or something like that to make a really good living as a Kindle publisher.
You've got to just continually crank the things out,
Right, and it gets more and more strained because, you do run into fatigue with writing these things. I mean, in theory, we could just go out and write 100 books But in actuality, it starts after a dozen or so. It starts to feel like BSing your way through a high school essay or something like that.
That's exactly what I've been running into here in the last month or so. Is that this latest book I'm trying to write? It took me 2 weeks to figure out. What the heck am I gonna? I don't want to just write the same book I wrote, a month ago, and put a different cover on it. That's no good. So yeah, you kind of hit the wall a little bit, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think as a standalone tactic, it's awesome to be on Amazon. I'm a big advocate of books. I like to see people, when they're writing, putting that writing into books, not necessarily onto blogs. Right. But as a one and only, it's incomplete. And I really like to steer people back towards the complete. And I know you have some interest of, you're trying to figure out how you can expand and diversify what you're doing a little bit, which is also wise. Which is also wise because, hey, we're already seeing the Kindle market get more and more saturated.
Right.
We're seeing books with a great release falling off faster and faster. So the writing is on the wall, and that it's going to be really tough. It's going to be very competitive to be an author, and it's good to mix that up, especially as a nonfiction author. When you have the ability to do affiliate sales, you have the ability to do an e-course, you have the ability to do coaching, you have the ability to do things that turn $1 that you get from your book into $10.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you go from a couple thousand a month to $20,000 a month, and life is good.
Right.
So let's see if we can figure out a way for you to do that. Now, we've already had a few discussions on Facebook and over email and stuff, so it might be a little redundant having this conversation again live with me. But
redundancy is not a problem. When at my age, you forget things, so being redundant is okay.
Yeah. And by the way, that I like to hear, everybody so far that I've spoken with, it's a very different scenario. Some people are halfway, some people are almost there, some people are just beginning, some people are young, some people are old. How old are you, Cary, if you don't mind sharing?
I don't like to divulge that very often, but let's
you can give away maybe just a range.
Let's just say I remember where I was when President Kennedy was shot. How about that?
Okay, all right, that's good enough. But I want people to hear that because, obviously there are a lot of people out there that think that the internet, they're too old for the internet, or that it's just going to be too technically challenging for them. And the fact of the matter is that it gets technically easier every day.
Right.
Things just keep getting easier and easier and easier, and there really aren't any barriers. And, my technological abilities are right on par with the whole geriatric crowd because I'm just not a technology whiz at all.
Well, yeah, the way I kind of look at it and approach it is I'm a marketer first, and then, I can either I can figure it out or I can find somebody to figure out the rest of it,
Right. So we talked a little bit about e-courses. I'm excited that you're thinking about that option because we're just launching a new e-course promotion site similar to Buck Books. That's one of the resources that we hope to develop for the people that come through this, sort of quasi-educational program. So what's something that you have in mind, maybe an e-course? What kind of content do you think that you could do? And do you have any ideas of where you could go with that and how that could tie in with the books that you have? Yeah,
so that's the question, is I'm not sure that I'm not sure what kind of a course I could put together around some of the books that I've written. They tend to be kind of new age, a little bit out there, kind of, life coaching type things. And, there's my cell phone, sorry. Turn that off. So I'm just not sure. I mean, I could put a course together, but I'm not sure it would be, something that everybody's going to want to go buy. And maybe I'm wrong about that. I haven't done a lot of research into that market, and I'm not sure how to go about researching a course. But the other thing that I'm curious about and interested in, although it seems like everybody and their dog is doing one, is on book marketing. Again, I'm not the world's expert, but I have had a little bit of success. And, I think there's some things that I'm doing that somebody else might be interested in. And I think that's something where, people are willing to spend money to learn.
Obviously, I think I've found myself in that space somewhat because it's very valuable information. Everybody wants to know how they can become an author. Everybody wants to know how they can do it, just like everybody wants to know how they can make money on the internet in general.
Right.
To me, being an author is just one way. And for me personally, I felt, and like I said originally, it's as a strategy, it's still incomplete. You need more. You need more education. You need to understand about all the other opportunities that go along with books. I could sort of see you entering that space, but it is a pretty crowded space. But it's still got a lot of growing to do. And, some of the really top people like Steve Scott, for example, it's kind of a question mark as to whether he's actually going to continue down the path of being a Kindle guru or whether he's going to just focus on writing books. I've had many conversations with him. He's just not really sure which direction he's headed in.
If I was doing as well as he is, selling the Kindle books, then I would consider, focusing on that myself,
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Any person who's a self-published author that becomes successful, you immediately have a commodity that is more valuable than the sale of your books alone.
Yes.
And which is why a lot of successful self-published authors go on to become Kindle gurus, and their books don't do as well anymore.
Right.
It's definitely something to keep in mind. But I see you writing a lot of minimalism stuff. I see a lot of clutter-free and minimalist type of things.
Yes.
And I view that as a very, very hot and growing market as well. I mean, It's been hugely successful in books. I can see that your book that you just did is already jumping back up in the rankings and looking like it's going to be really strong about decluttering specifically. Yeah. And I see, all about, if you look at your catalog of books and try to put a theme to it, it is about organizing your life and making changes in your life to, for the purpose of self-improvement. Obviously, there is some New Age thought woven into it, but there is a lot of aspects to your books where it's not completely revolving around New Age thought. It's just actionable, declutter your space. And
I try to keep it as down to earth as I can, while still, like you say, weaving in some of the more, being in the moment, being present, focusing on gratitude, that kind of thing.
Yeah, which is, that's not too New Agey. If you start talking about crystals and things, I might get a little concerned about you. But I think there's, e-course material there as well. I also think that there's coaching, one-on-one coaching as well. And I recommend that, especially for people starting out. Now, truth be told, most of the people who do coaching are looking for a way to get out of coaching, right?
Right.
Like everybody who coaches is only doing it until they don't need to do it anymore.
Right.
But it is an important way to get revenue out of the work that you do. All the work that you're doing, making connections with people, writing all these books, and you mentioned something about maybe a podcast. I mean, all the efforts that you're putting into going out there and being heard and getting known, it's awfully nice to have a way to capitalize on that. And I don't think there's any better way to capitalize on that than to offer a genuine, premium, one-on-one quality experience. And a very small percentage of people are going to take advantage of that. But the amount that they pay for a premium experience like that is so much that it really makes up for it.
You only need a few to make it worthwhile.
I mean, if 2 out of 1,000 pay $1,000 for 6-month correspondence with you, that just puts $2 per email subscriber. The revenue per subscriber just went up by $2. That $2 increase could be the difference between you being able to have an affiliate program, the difference between you being able to do any advertising, the difference between you being able to hire an assistant, a virtual assistant, a social media manager, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many things that getting a little more revenue out of your subscribers, it can make the difference between something that can scale and something that can't.
Right.
And it's awfully nice to get some help. I mean, that's what's taken me from, maybe 10, 12,000 a month flying solo to being able to scale that way up from there, because I have an army now.
Right.
And we do stuff together, and that makes so much difference to be able to get a little bit extra. So, and you had asked also in this set of questions that you sent over, you asked me about, you wanted to find 3 or 4 primary things that you could focus on. And I think that's pretty good, but I really think that there's more than that. I think you could find a half a dozen to a dozen affiliate offers that you can promote throughout a given year to your email subscribers.
Okay.
I think, an e-course that you create would be great. You could probably create a workbook that's sold off of Amazon back on your website. You could probably create, like I said, one-on-one coaching or some other more intimate premium type of experience for the people who really love you. If you have all those on offer, then you'll be able to do so much better than you're doing right now. It's just basically a flying solo flying Kindle author.
Right. And what I was kind of getting at there with the 3 or 4 sort of channels is, I honestly, I'm not a very good multitasker, but I would be afraid of doing 6 things halfway as opposed to doing 3 or 4, really well.
Yeah. Well, but, yeah, and I know what you mean exactly. I think here's what I would I made it sound like you have this list of a dozen things to do now, and it's not so much a list of a dozen things. Let me put it more like this. Let's say you get all these email subscribers in, you use your books and maybe podcasts or something, and you're trying to drive in subscribers to your website. You get subscribers in, and you know what they're interested in. They're interested in minimal stuff, and decluttering and self-help, self-development, self-improvement.
Right.
Now there's so many resources that you can recommend. So, for example, any book that's been written on the topic, yours included, but also books outside of that, you have the ability to recommend those books and get a little commission.
Right.
You could write, your top 10 favorite books, and you leave Amazon affiliate links and for each one of those top 10 books. And it's not much, but it might add 5% to your bottom line, and that matters, because you could probably put something like that. Yeah, you put something like that together in 30 minutes, and then all of a sudden you've got your revenue just bumped up by 5%. There's a million different things like that. So there's, one is going to be going out and identifying the people in your space that do what you do. You probably already know of a lot of them.
I know a few, sure.
But what I would do is spend some time. It doesn't have to be months or anything like that, but spend a solid few days to a week really trying to identify everybody that writes about minimalism and decluttering, not just books on Amazon, but take your search elsewhere. Find bloggers, find anybody that's at all related to that, and see if you can kind of identify
courses, other people that are doing courses or
right.
have coaching available,
right.
that kind of thing.
Exactly. They will have courses available, books available, programs available, coaching, and you can become an affiliate for that and promote those things. And in doing so, you might be able to talk some of those people into becoming an affiliate for you and your products once you have those created.
Right.
Most people are trying to figure out, they're thinking in the exact opposite order. They're thinking, okay, I'm going to drive a bunch of people to my site to become subscribers, and then I'm going to think of something to sell to them. And that works, but it's usually better and more efficient to figure out something, figure out what you're going to sell and make sure it sells and test it and get it dialed in tight. And then you can sort of set it and forget about it and then go out there and find people who will promote that for you. If you create something that sells, everybody in the minimalism space is looking for more stuff to sell. So you have the ability.
Bloggers are always looking for more content, right?
Oh, bloggers are so starved for things to promote. I mean, it's not just content that they're looking to promote. All these bloggers are trying to make a living, and most of them are struggling.
Right.
And creating a product that sells, that gets them a pretty decent EPC, which is earnings per click of $1 or more. If you create something like that for the minimalism community, they will get to know about you really quick and promote your stuff and can literally double your success overnight because they have the community, the people out there in the world who are interested in what you have to offer. They're in communication with those people, and they can start sending those really targeted leads over to you, not only sending them to you, but also saying, this guy's great, you got to check his stuff out, really selling you.
Right.
And I would try to forge as many of those type of relationships as you possibly can. Get to know everybody in your community, get to know what they're selling, find out if they have an affiliate program, create something of your own, and start engaging in these mutually beneficial exchanges. And then you're going to be in business, and then you're going to build thousands and thousands. You're going to build that big list that S.J. Scott has. And then your Kindle books are going to be more successful, which will bring more leads back to your site, and so on and so forth. And you'll be able to build more momentum in a smaller amount of time and really get somewhere. I really do believe that that's a good thing to focus on. But it doesn't. It sounds like you've got to focus on 100 different things, but really it's one task, which is going out and identifying some things that you can work into your year, into your promotions, to your email list.
Okay.
And it's all part of the research process, really, more than anything.
Yep. Okay. And then while I'm doing that, at least for the time being, I need to continue to write the Kindle books and continue to go ahead and publish a 15 to 20,000 word ebook once a month or so, as I've been doing, to keep that going whilst I'm doing the other stuff.
I think it's given you some good momentum, and you're getting close, because I've seen your book rankings, and I know that you've had several months probably in the 2,000 plus range, which is getting really, really close.
Yep.
And I think that's probably a good thing to keep up momentum with, because it's one of the things that'll help bring you there. But instead of having 100% of your revenue coming from Kindle, I would say, without lowering it,
right,
it should be more like 25%, of your overall revenue.
Right.
And to me, Amazon is just the most wonderful place with which to create a following, because there's a lot fewer there's a lot of books out there, but there's fewer books than there are websites, and there's the pace of website creation is outpacing the number of new books published by far.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of websites created every day. I mean, it's insane. So basically, you think about social media and how huge that is. I mean, It's just massive. But Kindle is great because it's less competitive than other places. You can get your book read by more people in a shorter period of time than you probably could by putting up blog posts on a website. I mean, it takes longer to get traction that way. And it's quality, because people are reading a nice, well-organized book, and they're reading it in the right order. They're not just landing on something that they searched in Google, browsing it for 15 seconds,
right,
and then leaving.
Reading down to the fold and then clicking off.
Exactly. This is quality. This is
right.
quality. This is where people really get to know you, and you can get 100 strong followers or 1,000 strong followers a lot faster publishing on Kindle than just publishing blog posts or trying to be popular on social media or whatever.
One thing I noticed with this latest book launch is that I've had a perma-free book for about a month up on Amazon, and it's done pretty good. I get of course the reason I did it was to drive traffic to my list, and it gets anywhere between 3 and 8, I would say, opt-ins per day, which is decent, I think.
Hey, that's getting there.
This latest book that I launched, of course, has the same landing page on the second page of the book that I just launched. I mean, not landing page, but I mean it has the link to the same landing page that I use for the perma-free book. And I got yesterday alone, I got 15 opt-ins from that book launch.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, it seems like they are maybe slightly better quality opt-ins than just the perma-free book.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a paid download is more valuable than a free download.
Yes.
Because people are more likely to read that thing all the way to the end. They're more likely to take it seriously.
Yep.
But, as you know and have you seen, it's a lot easier to get somebody to download a free book than it is one that has a price tag associated with it.
Right.
What do you get, about 100 downloads a day on that perma-free book?
I'm averaging right at, I've promoted it a couple of times and got much higher, of course, but one thing was really shocked me, the third day I had it up, I got 1,200 downloads on the thing with no promotion whatsoever. It was just free, and then of course it came down. And I've been averaging about right around 100 downloads a day. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so easy to promote too. I mean, it's a lot easier to promote on social media. It's a lot, you can use it to get leads in and of itself, because you can create a nice lead capture page where people can subscribe to get that free book, just like I've done with the Quitting 6 releases. But what I've found is that just a general average is probably 3 to 5% of people who download a free book will go and subscribe back on your website.
Uh-huh.
So it sounds like you're right in the ballpark of where you should be.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Now the trick is, how do you increase your revenue per subscriber? Because I really like to see people focus on this metric, because just think for a moment how significant it is, right? Right now you're getting, you said 3 to 8, and then you got 15 with the new book release, and you probably see a boost. You'll keep publishing Kindle Books and maybe throw another perma-free out there, and then all of a sudden you find yourself at, 25, 30, 35 subscribers a day.
Mm-hmm.
If your average revenue per subscriber is $10, which is not an outrageous amount, now you're getting into $250, $300 a day if you're getting 25 to 30 email subscribers.
Right.
I know people who get so much revenue per subscriber that, they could make 4 figures off of 25 new email subscribers a day. So, it's power. It's very, very powerful for your business as a whole to find those little ways to get an extra dime or even nickel out of your subscribers. You don't want to be spamming them with stuff that they won't like, but there's a lot of stuff that they will like.
Right.
You could.
How many subscribers do you think you should have before you really start, doing some of these other things, trying to sell somebody's course as an affiliate, or some of those types of things. I've got right now on my main list, I've got right about 800.
Well, I think the main thing is, you can create a sequence that they receive when they subscribe.
Yes.
Obviously, some things are time sensitive. If you see that Steve Scott's decluttering book gets marked down to 99 cents, you want to tell people about the deal, you can't put that into your sequence because people are going to find it when it's not on sale.
Right.
So there's regular broadcasts, and then there's sequences that you could send people through. So there's a variety of things that you could do with that list. But to me, what's always been more important, and I really realize that now more than ever, is, your total list size matters, but how much you're getting on any given day really matters a lot too. If you were able to fix things up and get something set up where you felt confident with some projections that you're making that you're going to get $5 to $10 per email subscriber in total revenue lifetime or more, then you can feel confident doing what you need to do to bring those subscribers in. First you need to create this great experience for them that is going to build trust and that's going to serve them and give them value, get them ready to purchase something from you, wow them with that first purchase so that they'll be ready to, buy whatever you offer them next.
Right.
Really impressing them every step along the way. And you can also send them out little broadcasts about things that you're doing. And, if you start a podcast and you have managed to have gotten up to 5,000 email subscribers, 1,000 of those people are going to come over and listen to that first podcast, and that's going to boost you up in the rankings. It's going to make that successful. So it's very powerful because not only can those subscribers help you to sell stuff, but they can also help the content that you're putting out there be more successful to reach even more people, and it starts to really take off.
Get viral, as it were.
Right. The jump from 0 to 3,000 is probably harder than the jump from 3,000 to 10,000.
Right.
So that's a really important barrier. That's kind of what I set as a standard of, hey, just let's figure out how to get to this level, because once you get there, everything gets easier.
Exactly.
But here's the point I want to say about the subscribers. All that really matters is how many are opening your emails and how many are going to click on a link that you share with them. And there's a lot of inflated numbers on the internet where people, I got 200,000 people on my email list. Well, I've seen people drop links in there and only be able to send over 800 people to a website with a list like that.
Right.
Quality and quantity are often moving in opposite directions when it comes to stuff on the internet. Having 800 email subscribers could be, completely insignificant, or it could be enough to have a pretty successful business. Bringing in 20 new email subscribers a day, it could be insignificant, or it could be enough to have a successful business.
It all depends on how engaged and how trustworthy they feel you are and that kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And it depends on really the quality of the experience that they have with you.
Right.
Are they feeling like you're really genuine? Are you really trying to be helpful? Are you a trustworthy person? Is your information solid and helpful? All those things will really help. But that's why I think your main issue here that you need to address is addressing the foundation of your business, creating a way to make money when people subscribe to your email list. Right. Instead of just releasing more and more Kindle Books to them. Right. That's an effective strategy. You could follow that, but it's limiting, and you could be more successful if you just developed some ways to get more revenue out of your people when they subscribe. And if you can do that, then you could start, and you're confident 100% that it's worth X number of dollars at least or more to get an email subscriber. Then you could really turn your attention and focus on getting those email subscribers. So know that you can get value out of them and then go out and figure out how to get them. Most people, like I said, are doing it in the reverse order, going out and getting email subscribers, then trying to figure out what to do. But by the time they've figured out what to do, those people have become uninterested, because people are always the most interested in the first 90 days or so.
Right. Yeah, and so if you go out and get a whole bunch of email subscribers and then email them once and then never email them again, then not going to do very much good, is it?
Yeah, and I don't mean to
don't connect with them when you email them.
Yeah, and I don't mean to sound cynical when I say this either, but most people's expectations are always out of line with reality, right? We're always in a state of thinking things that are either better than they really are or worse than they really are. And when people find some new source of information, be it about health or making money or whatever it may be, their expectations of what could be and what could come from this information and this new person that they've found that seems to have all the answers are often really, really high. And, they're not going to be so excited about what you're doing 2 years down the road, because by that time, they probably had their illusions and overinflated expectations already crushed, and they've moved on in search of the next guru who can fix their problems.
So is that why, if I hear you saying it right, is what you're saying is you really do need to continue to grow that list. You need to get the new subscribers on the list pretty much continuously. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. I really like to see new people always coming in. Yeah. And you will see that the number, if you got a list tomorrow of 50,000, you would find that the number of people opening those emails would go steadily down if you didn't continue to get new people in. Right. Because people will just, a small percentage are always going to unsubscribe every time you send something out. Right. Small percentage is just going to finally be like, you know what, this is not for me. Right. That's just the way of things. Yep. But that's why I say get something set up, an autoresponder, a sequence that that gives them a great quality experience. They get emailed several times. Allow them to immerse themselves into you and your information. Yep. Don't have them subscribe and then wait a month before you email them about your next book. It's just not enough. It's not enough to form a strong bond with them. It's not enough to keep them hungry to open up and see what the new thing that they got in their inbox from Cary David Richards is going to be. You wait too long, they might see an email and go, "Who is this guy?" Right. And you want to give them something, right? I mean, you want to give them some good information. You want to try and teach them something, as you go. And then, oh, by the way, there's this new book, or here's this other course, or whatever, right? Right. That's how it should be. You should build trust, and you should always wow them with something free. Most people either do too much free stuff and not enough paid stuff, or they jump too quickly to the paid stuff without giving enough free stuff. Right. Gary Vaynerchuk's concept of jab, 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 right hook is a really, really sound one. Yep. You really want to do everything in your power to build a strong relationship with them and just seem like the, hero of the universe. But you do need to know the right time to ask for a sale, and it should not be something really expensive. It should be something relatively cheap that's easy for them to go ahead and, oh yeah, I can drop $10, $20. Right. And make sure that what they get for that $10 or $20 blows them away. Because you ultimately want to take them down a path to where they're ready to do the works with you. Right. That's where you're going to get the most revenue, and that's where you're going to create a sound business that's worth going out there and doing all the hustling that is required to bring those email subscribers in. Right. And to get the affiliates in there, make it worthwhile for them to do any kind of paid advertising and have any kind of shot whatsoever of getting a positive return on that advertising spend. Uh-huh. You really have to have a sound business at the core. So think about some things. I just gave some examples. You don't have to do the workbook followed by the e-course followed by the coaching type setup. It just is one common setup, and it is a fairly intuitive setup because those things in people's minds
have a certain value.
Yeah.
You know, a book is not as valuable as a course, is not as valuable as coaching.
Right. So yeah, I'll, you know, I like I said, I do know some of the people in the space. Don't know them well, but I haven't done probably as much research as I should have into, you know, the full space and who's there and what exactly they're selling and how they're selling it, and so I'll do that. I'll go, you know, immerse myself in that space and see what I can figure out, and then that should inform, you know, more of what, you know, where I should start to you know, to build additional content to put out to people.
Yeah, knowledge is power when it comes to your own space, your own niche, and it's so powerful. And the most important part is that, you know, you really get a chance to, you know, not only see what everybody's doing, but once you see what everybody's doing and you observe what they're doing, now you have the ability to generate ideas, because if you don't understand how all this internet stuff works, it's impossible to generate a good idea.
Right.
So obviously one of the most common questions I get from anybody is that they just have no idea what they could do on the internet, and that's because they don't understand how other people are making money on the internet, because if they did, it starts to become easier. The more you understand, the easier and easier it becomes to conceptualize of how you could put a little bit of a unique twist on a combination of what several people did into your own unique entity that works.
Right.
So get out there and check it out. I wanted to we've already gone over kind of where I was thinking time-wise, but you had a couple of other good questions that I just want to address really quick if I could.
Okay.
Because I don't want them to sneak out without getting answered. Let's see here. You said something about tracking, right? You said one thing I have had trouble with is tracking, keeping track of, identifying, quantifying what is going on. I get that. I think tracking is really important. I also think that it can be really distracting. So
it can be a real time suck, that's for sure.
Right. I mean, some people are so focused on the tracking that they lose sight of the bigger picture, right?
Yep.
The biggest picture is, do you want to connect with people, you want to serve people, you want to help people, you want to create really strong personal connections. I mean, I've answered 50 personal emails in the last, 48 hours or so. And I answered them with heart. There's jokes in there and smiley faces and casual and, building a good relationship with an individual. That's the most important thing, spending real quality time with people and service to them. So that's what counts. And people lose track of that when they're so focused on business and analytics and tracking and all this businessy stuff, right? So it's about finding the fine line, right? Where is too much business? Where has it become too much about business? And where has it become too little about business? And, it's about finding that middle ground. So tracking, for you, I would want to know a few basic things. The most important to me are, what is the conversion rate on for subscribers when they come to your website?
Right.
How many new users that come to your website for the first time are entering their email address? And I would work on improving that. I would know it and work on improving it.
Right.
The next is like I said, your revenue per subscriber. That's a really good thing to know, because now you know how much it's worth to send traffic to your website to get subscribers. You know that if you spend $10 on boosting a post on Facebook or something like that, or whatever it may be, or if you hire an assistant and they're getting $1,000 a month and they're sending over, those activities are sending over 1,500 people to the site every month, and 500 of those are subscribing, Well, if you're making $10 revenue per subscriber, that's $5,000. You're only paying your assistant $1,500. Boom, you got a winning strategy here.
Yeah, do that all day long.
Full steam ahead.
Yep.
So just a little empowerment in those areas is really all it takes. Other than that, I wouldn't become too obsessive with it.
And don't get too mired up in all of the minute details.
Exactly.
Right.
Stay focused on the big picture. And I'm very much a big picture guy, but
right.
I do like to see those few metrics because it empowers you to be able to go do what you need to do to drive traffic and stir up a ruckus without having to worry that something is broken in your process back at home.
Right.
So, well, anyway, with that, I'll wrap it up because that's one thing I thought was interesting to address. But thanks a lot for the chat. And,
well, thanks very much for the time. I really appreciate it. This is
absolutely, man.
And go ahead.
I'll be excited to see how you do. I've watched you come a long way just since we first communicated, and it's been fun. And I'm willing to overlook that you're a Seahawks fan and all this, and see if I can help you get the rest of the way there.
I was just telling my wife today, training camp starts in 34 days, baby.
All right, Cary. Good to talk to you, buddy. Take
Great.
care.
Thanks. We'll be in touch.
All right.
Bye.
That's all for today's episode, but you can go back and get 4 free books plus an unfathomable shitload of free resources and insider information at quittin6.com. Go register there now at quit6.com.
Here we go.